Today, we're going to show you the top 5 backup guns for hunters. So buckle up. Well, hello. Welcome back to LocaCarnivore. Glad you could make it. We really appreciate it. Today, we're talking about the top 5 backup guns for hunters. And we're going to talk today about the 5 backup guns for rifle hunters, not bow hunters. Bow hunting is its own little world. Deserves its own particular video, dedicated video, so we're going to give you one of those later. So let's talk about the 5 backup guns that you need for hunting as a rifle hunter. The first question, of course, is do you need a backup gun? And I would say yes, you do. I hunted for a great many years without a backup gun, and once I finally started carrying one, I realized that I was putting myself at a distinct disadvantage when I did not carry one. I found that carrying a backup handgun really is an essential part of your hunting gear. And I don't care if you're a tree stand hunter or you're spot and stock, doing big expeditions in the backcountry, it really doesn't matter. So, but you should have a handgun with you, and for a couple of reasons, several reasons actually. First of all, we're going to divide the world into are you hunting in bear country versus not bear country, more specifically grizzly bear country, but even black bears can be dangerous if you get them in the wrong situation. So we're going to talk about that as well. And of course, one thing, if you could give us a big like on the video, make sure you subscribe so we have you on the LocaCarnivore team. Ring that bell so you'll get notified of every video. Why do you need a backup handgun to begin with? Well, the world is unpredictable, and it's good to have a backup any old time, and you should always have your defensive tools on you, as John Creo over at Active Self-Protection is constantly reminding us. Backup handguns serve many purposes. For one thing, they provide a better way to dispatch a game animal that has not completely expired, as opposed to using another rifle round and damaging more meat, etc. like that. Also, it's good to have for self-defense against potential predators. Even if you're not in bear country, you might have to deal with mountain lions or cougars if you're back east, or pumas even. There can also be other things, stray dogs, feral dogs, those are a big problem, or if you run into a feral hog or something like that, that's aggressive, something like that. So defense against potentially dangerous animals, that's one reason. And the other reason is, quite frankly, and unfortunately, our world has changed to the point where going out and hunting in the woods is no longer a completely safe experience as far as dealing with potential criminals. And just for an example, there was a guy just very recently that was brutally murdered in Montana while camping, and specifically it wasn't hunting, but it gives you an idea of the fact that there are people out there that they specialize in robbing vehicles at trailheads. So if you run into one of those at the wrong moment, you might have a little instance where you might have to defend your life, or at least have some persuasion available to you. Also, you know, the fact is that there are people who do not like hunters for various reasons. Most of them can find their dislike to protests and contributing to the organizations that are working against hunting, things like that. But there's a small minority out there that are extreme enough to want to harm a hunter. So again, it would be best to have your defensive equipment on you at the time. And yes, you're carrying a hunting rifle, but it's not quite the same. The rifle might not be immediately available. Maybe it's in the case in your truck, you know, might be over by somewhere other part by your tent, or maybe it's on your saddle, on your horse, whatever. You might not be able to get to it right away. So you do need to have some sort of backups. Well, that's the case for having a backup gun on you. So it really comes down to, well, what type of gun should you carry? And there are a wide variety. I mean, there's hundreds of different handguns on the market, both new and used. So, you know, there's a lot to choose from. But I'll help you narrow it down based on my experience and the experience of other hunters that I've dealt with over the years. So again, we're going to divide the world into non-bear and bear country. So let's start with, you don't hunt in country that has dangerous bears. But primarily at this point we're considering dispatching game and also defending ourselves against somebody, a two-legged assailant, a human assailant. And for those you can kind of use basically an EDC type gun. I would suggest a medium frame double stack 9mm, like maybe a Glock 19. If you want to go a little bit lighter, I mean, for instance, I carried a Glock 26, which is their subcompact. I carried that for years, which was really great. It's very small, lightweight, but it still had 11 rounds of capacity on it. And so I didn't feel like I had to carry a backup, a spare magazine. Although these days I even carry a spare magazine because I've seen situations where you really look at it and you go, having extra ammo is not a bad idea. So carry at least one reload. That aside, though, you can go small, like those type of guns, Sig Micro, the macros or whatever, something like that. Springfield. There's just a gazillion out there. Smith & Wesson, M&Ps, whatever you want, whatever brand you like. That's what I would go with. And for your revolver folks, a couple of suggestions. Probably the best bet is a medium frame revolver, like a Smith & Wesson K frame or Ruger GP 100, something like that. I would have it in .357 Magnum because that way you've got enough power to deal with a predator, animal, but you've also got enough power, obviously, for self-defense. Or you can go with the .38. 38 works really well for game dispatch. It doesn't do near the damage that a Magnum will at close range for a dispatch shot, so you might want to consider that. Plus, 38 special with full metal jacket, great load for small game. So if you need sort of that subsistence thing too, or you might want to be taking some small game to supplement your meat in the camp or something like that, that's a great way to go too, because that full metal jacket just zips right through the critters, drops them, but doesn't blow them up. Almost as good as a 22 in my opinion. The other revolver you might consider, if you don't want that much bulk and power like a medium frame gun, you can go with a small frame like Smith & Wesson's J frame or the Ruger LCR or something of that ilk. I would go with a lightweight frame like, for instance, Smith & Wesson 642 with an aluminum frame would be a really good option, although that one has a shrouded hammer, which is good for it doesn't snag on anything and doesn't, the hammer spur doesn't wear on your clothing. But at the same time, you have to use double action only. And if you're trying to do a precise shot on a grouse or a rabbit or something, you might want that single action so you can cock that hammer and get a really precise shot for that purpose. And of course, it's in .38 special. They have them in .357. I wouldn't go there. It's not pleasant shooting those guns at all. And of course, how could I leave out the 1911? I mean, the 1911 fanboys would not forgive me. Here they come. You can see them. You can fast roping down to come talk to me because you didn't include the 1911. Trust me, the 1911 is there. The other thing I'm going to include too, though, is a quick reminder that if you're looking for more content or you want to get some of this great LocaCarnivore merchandise, go over to our website. Links down in the description there, LocaCarnivore.com, and you can pick up some great stuff and get some really good information at the same time. So like I said, the 1911, great choice as well. I would go with the lightweight, like a commander size. I'd stay away from those really small ones like the Officer's ACP and the micros. They can be spotty on reliability, in my personal opinion, and a lot of other 1911 experts that I know or have at least read or listened to, they're very adamant about the fact that really micro ones can be a little spotty on reliability. So the Commander, it has a slightly shorter barrel than the full-size government model, and with an alloy frame is much lighter. I don't think, unless you want to, you can go to the 2011s, but who needs the extra bulk and all that. 45 would be just fine. You can go 9mm if you want, if you can get a reliable one. 9mm 1911s are not always the best on reliability either. So, go with the tried and true 45. And this brings us around to talking about a backup handgun if you're hunting in bear country. In bear country, we need stopping power. Let's be honest. We want and need some stopping power. So what kind of guns would you want to take? Well, I would recommend, if you're a semi-automatic fan, a 10mm. 10mm is a great cartridge. And specifically for guns, in my experience, the Glock 20, hard to beat. That's full size. I would stay away from the Glock 29, which is a subcompact version, because the grip is really short and a lot of people find that hard to shoot. Other semi-autos, talking about the striker fired type guns with the polymer frames, the Smith & Wesson M&P 10mm are good. Get the full size, not the compact. All I've seen out there on the interweb as far as people having problems with these M&Ps, and people have even had trouble with Glocks. I mean, they don't walk on water either. I'm not shilling for Glock. But the M&P problems seem to be isolated mostly to the compact version. So just get the full size. I've shot the full size, no problem. We even have a review video on it. We'll put the link in the description. Go down and check that out. And also, by the way, we would appreciate your support for the channel and giving us a little extra budget. So go kick in a little on our Patreon, links down there as well. Thank you. So we have the 10mm, like I said, XDM Elite from Springfield. There's a whole bunch on the market now. And of course, you can go to a 1911. However, if you go to the 1911, you're going to be in an all-steel gun, full-size government model, like what Springfield Ronins comes to mind, the Colt Delta Elite, of course, the old original, tried and true. There's a whole bunch out there, even Rock Island has them, etc., etc. But you're going to have that full 39 ounces empty, and you load it up and everything, and it's a brick. It really is. So be prepared to carry that weight. But if you're a tree stand hunter or something like that, or you're just hunting from a blind or whatever, but you're still in bear country, 1911 is not a bad choice if you're a 1911 person. And of course, the 1911 fanboys would not have forgiven me if I didn't mention it. So there you go. There's your little, there's your biscuit. Good 1911 fanboys. Sit, stay. While we're talking about 10 millimeters, real quick note, for best reliability, in my opinion, stick with loads that are close to what 10 millimeter guns were originally designed to run. And that was that original normal load, 200 grains at 1200 to 1250 feet per second. You go way high on bullet weight or on velocity, and you're asking for trouble, in my opinion. So stick with something that is reasonable and what the guns were designed for, and you'll probably have pretty good reliability, regardless of what gun you're using. And while you're at it, make sure you share the video, please. And what do you think is a good backup handgun for hunting? Do you carry one? Go down in the comments, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's talk about revolvers. You wheel gun guys out there, I'm a wheel gun person too. I like them just as well. However, and we're not going to get into that debate. That's been, that'll never go away. But let's talk about good revolver choices in bear country. First of all, let's start with 41 Magnum if we can. I mean, if you need to, you can carry a 357. If you want a little less weight, you can carry a medium frame gun with, bare loads in 357. Not a bad choice, but I'd rather see in 41 Mag on up. 44, and if you're talking the really big ones up in Alaska on the coast or whatever, you might want to think about the 454 Casull, 460s, etc., etc. So you might need the super big guns. But in 44, double action revolver is your best bet. Stay away from the single actions because they're slow on follow-up shots, and just go with the double action, better defensive tool, frankly. And I would do a large frame revolver like a Smith & Wesson 629, for instance, in stainless steel with a 4-inch barrel. You don't need the 6-inch or the Dirty Harry 7.5 or whatever. The 4-inch barrel is more than adequate. For you Ruger folks, the Red Hawk would be fine. The Red Hawk Alaskan, even though it's a 2-inch barrel, it's kind of stubby in my opinion. But if you can get something like that, or the Smith & Wesson Model 69, which is their 5-shot, which is on an L frame. Although be prepared for extra recoil. In my personal opinion, as far as the 329 PD with that scandium frame, don't even go there. It's brutal. I've seen people actually, get cut. Their hands get cut on the grips in these things. So it's nice to carry, but boy, it's just brutal to shoot. And getting a follow-up shot in a hurry, you're challenged enough with a 44 Magnum to begin with in a normal size gun, normal weight gun. But in that super light gun, you probably never get that second shot on target in time, in my personal opinion. So make that first one count. There you go. That's our recommendations for the 5 best or top handguns, backup handguns for hunters. We hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got some good information out of it. And thank you for spending your valuable time here with us at the LocaCarnivore. And remember, as always, the ultimate act of resistance is insisting upon facts. Thanks for watching.